Chapter number 10, Light, Reflection and Refraction. We see a variety of things in the world around us. However, we are unable to see anything in a dark room. On lighting up the room, objects become visible. What makes objects visible during the day? The sunlight helps us to see the things. An object reflects light that falls on it. This reflected light, when received by our eyes, enables us to see objects. We are able to see through a transparent medium as light is transmitted across it. There are a number of common wonderful phenomena associated with light, like image light like image formation by mirrors, the twinkling of stars, bending of light by medium, the beautiful colors of a rainbow, and so on. A study of the properties of light helps us to explore them by observing the common optical phenomena around us. We may reach at a conclusion that light seems to travel in a straight lines. The fact that a small source of light casts a sharp shadow of an opaque object points to this straight line path of light, normally indicated as a ray of light. In this chapter, we shall discuss about the phenomena of reflection and refraction of light with the help of the straight line propagation of light. This basic concepts will help us in the study of some of the optical phenomena occurring in nature. In this chapter, we shall try to understand the reflection of light by spherical mirrors and the refraction of light and their application in real life situations. Reflection of light, a highly polished surface like a mirror reflects most of the light falling on it. You are already familiar with the laws of reflection of light. Let us recall these laws. The angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection, and the incident ray, the normal to the mirror at the point of incidence, and the reflected ray all lie in the same plane. These laws of reflection are applicable to all kinds by reflecting surfaces, including spherical surfaces. You are familiar with the formation of image by a plane mirror. What are the properties of the image? Image formed by a plane mirror is always erect and virtual. The size of the image is the same as that of the object. The image formed is an far behind the mirror as the object is in front of it. Further, the image is laterally inverted. How would the images be formed when the reflecting surfaces are covered? Let us explore. The curved surface of a shining stone could be thought as a curved mirror. The most generally used type of a curved mirror is the spherical mirror. The reflecting surface of such mirrors can be considered to form a part of the surface of a sphere. Those mirrors which reflecting surfaces are spherical are known as spherical mirrors. We shall now learn about spherical mirrors in some more details. Spherical mirrors, the reflecting surface of spherical mirrors may be curved outwards or inwards. A spherical mirror which reflecting surface is curved inwards, that is faces towards the center of the sphere, is known as a concave mirror. A spherical mirror which reflecting surface is curved. Surface is curved outwards is known as a convex mirror. The schematic representation of these mirrors is given in figure. You may observe in these diagrams that the back of the mirror is shaded. You may now understand that the surface of the spoon bulged outwards can be approximated to a convex mirror, and the surface of the spoon curved inwards can be approximated to a concave mirror. Before we move further on spherical mirrors, we need to understand and recognize the meaning of a few terms. These terms are normally used in a discussion about spherical mirrors, the center of the reflecting surface of a spherical mirror is a point known as the pole. It lies on the surface of the mirror. The pole is normally represented by the letter P. The reflecting surface of a spherical mirror makes a part of a sphere. This sphere has a center. This point is known as the center of curvature of the spherical mirror. It is represented by the letter C. Please note that the center of curvature is not a part of the mirror. It lies outside its reflecting surface. The center of curvature of a concave mirror lies in front of it. However, it lies behind the mirror in case of a convex mirror. You may observe this in the radius of the sphere of which the reflecting surface of a spherical mirror makes a part is known as the radius of curvature of the mirror. It is usually represented by the letter R. You may observe that the distance PC is equal to the radius of curvature. Consider a straight line passing across the pole and the center of curvature of a spherical mirror. This line is known as the principal axis. Remember that the principal axis is normal to the mirror at its pole. Let us understand an important term associated with mirrors through an activity. The paper at first starts to burn, producing a smoke. Eventually, it may even catch fire. Why does it start burning? The light from the sun is converted at a point as a bright sharp spot by the mirror. In fact, this spot of light on the sheet of paper is the image of the sun. This point is the focus of the concave mirror. The heat generated due to the concentration of sunlight ignites the paper, and the distance between this image and the position of the mirror gives the approximate value of focal length of the mirror. Let us try to understand these observations through a ray diagram. A number of rays parallel to the principal axis are falling on a concave mirror. Note the reflected rays. They are all intersecting, meeting at a point on the principal axis of the mirror. This point is known as the principal focus of the concave mirror. Similarly, notice how are the rays parallel to the principal axis. Reflected by a convex mirror, the reflected rays seem to arise from a point on the principal axis. This point is known as the principal focus of the convex mirror. The principal focus is represented by the letter F. The distance of the pole from the principal focus of a spherical mirror is known as the focal length. It is represented by the letter F. The reflecting surface of a spherical mirror is by and large spherical. The surface then contains a circular outline. The diameter of the reflecting surface of a spherical mirror is known as its aperture. Distance Mn represents the aperture. We shall think in our discussion only those spherical mirrors whose aperture is much smaller than its radius of curvature. Is there any relation between the local length F and radius of curvature R of a spherical mirror? For spherical mirrors of small apparatus, the radius of curvature is found. The radius of curvature is found to be equal to twice the focal length. The focal length, we put this as R is equal to 2f. This shows that the principal focus of a spherical mirror lies midway between the center of curvature and pole. Image formation by aspherical mirrors. You have learned about the image formation by plane mirrors. You also know the nature, relative size, and position of the images formed by them. How about the images formed by spherical mirrors? How can we locate the image for different positions of the object formed by a concave mirror? Are the images virtual or real? Are they diminished, enlarged, or have the same size? We shall explore this with activity 3. Activity 3. You will observe in the above activity that the nature, size, and position of the image obtained by a concave mirror depends on the position of the object in relation to points P, F, and C. The image obtained is real for some positions of the object. It is found to be a virtual image for a certain other position. The image is either magnified as has the same size or reduced depending on the position of the object. A summary of these observations is so for your reference in table 1. Representation of images formed by spherical mirrors using ray diagrams. We can also learn the formation of images by spherical mirrors by drawing ray diagrams. Suppose an extended object of finite size placed in front of a spherical mirror. A spherical mirror is a small portion of the extended object behaves like a point source. An infinite number of rays arises from each of these points to construct the ray diagrams. In order to determine the image of an object, an arbitrarily large number of rays coming from a point could be considered. However, it is convenient to consider only two rays for the sake of clarity of the ray diagram. These rays are so selected that it is easy to know their direction after reflection from the mirror. The intersection of at least two reflected rays gives rise to the position of image of the point object. Any two of the following rays can be considered for locating the image. A ray parallel to the principal axis after reflection will pass across the principal focus. In case of a concave mirror of seems to diverge from the principal focus. In case of a convex mirror, this is represented in figure. A ray passing across the principal focus of a concave mirror, or a ray which is directed towards the principal focus of a convex mirror after reflection will emerge parallel to the principal axis. This is represented by figure. A ray passing across the center of a curvature of a concave mirror or directed in the direction of the center of a curvature of a convex mirror after reflection is reflected back through the same path. This is represented by figure. The light rays come back through the same path because the incident rays fall on the mirror across the normal to the reflecting surface. A ray incident obliquely to the principal axis towards a point P. Pole of the mirror on the concave mirror or a convex mirror is reflected obliquely. The reflected and incident rays follow the laws of reflection at the point of incidence, point P, forming equal angles with the principal axis. Remember that in all the cases given above, the laws of reflection are followed at the point of incidence. The incident ray is reflected in such a way that the angle of reflection be equal to the angle of incidence. Uses of concave mirrors. Concave mirrors are generally used in torches, vehicles, headlights, and searchlights to obtain powerful parallel beams of light. They are often used as saving mirrors to view a larger image of the face. Dentist use concave mirrors to observe large images of the teeth of patients. Large concave mirrors are used to concrete sunlight to generate heat in solar furnace. Image Image formation by a convex mirror. We learnt the image formation by a concave mirror. Now we shall learn the formation of image by a convex mirror. By a convex mirror, we think two positions of the object for learning the image formed by a convex mirror. First is when the object is present at infinity, and the second position is when the second is placed at a finite distance from the mirror. There are diagrams for obtaining images by a convex mirror. For these two positions of the objects are represented in respectively. The results are summarized in table 2. You have so far learnt the image formation by a plane mirror, a convex mirror, and a concave mirror. Which of these mirrors will give the full image of a large object? Let us explore by an activity. By an activity, you can view a full length image of a tall tree building in a small convex mirror. One such mirror is fitted in a wall of Agra Fort facing the Taj Mahal. If you visit the Agra Fort, try to see the full image of the Taj Mahal. To observe distinctly, you should stand suitably at the terrace adjoining the wall. Uses of convex mirrors. Convex mirrors are generally used as rear viewing mirrors in vehicles. These mirrors are fitted on the sides of the vehicle, enabling the driver or to observe traffic behind her him. To facilitate safe driving, convex mirrors are preferred because they always form an erect through diminished image. Also they have a wider field of view as they are curved outwards. Hence, convex mirrors enable the driver to view much larger area than would be possible with a plane mirror. Sign convention for reflection by spherical mirrors. While dealing with the reflection of light by spherical mirrors, we shall follow a set of sign conventions known as the Newton sign convention. In this convention, the principal axis of the mirror is taken as the x-axis of the coordinate system. The pole P of the mirror is taken as the origin. The conventions are as follows. The object is always kept to the left of the mirror. This shows that the light from the object falls on the mirror from the left hand side. All distances parallel to the principal axis are measured from the pole of the mirror. All the distances measured to the left of the origin along x-axis are taken as negative, while those measured to the right of the origin along plus x-axis are taken as positive. Distances measured perpendicular to and below the principal axis along y-axis are taken as negative. Distances measured perpendicular to and above the principal axis along plus y-axis are taken as positive distances. The new Cartesian sign convention described above is given in figure for your reference. For your reference, these sign conventions are applied to get the mirror formula and solve numerical problems related to it. Then the magnification I am produced by a spherical mirror is given by. The magnification M is also related to the image distance B and object distance. It can be expressed. You may observe that the height of the object is taken to be positive as the object is generally placed above the principal axis. The height of the image should be taken as negative for real images. However, it is to be taken as positive for virtual images. A negative sign in the value of the magnification shows that the image is real. A positive sign in the value of the magnification shows that the image is virtual. Refraction of light. Light appears to travel along straight line paths in a transparent medium. which takes place when light enters from one transparent medium to another. Does it still move across a straight line, path, or change its direction? We shall recall some of our daily life experiences. You might have seen that the bottom of a tank or a pond containing water seems to be raised. Similarly, when a thick glass slab is kept overcome printed matter, the letters seem raised when viewed through the glass slab. Why does it occur? Why does it occur? Have you seen a pencil partly immersed in water in a glass tabler? It seems to be displaced at the entrance of water and air. You might have observed that a lemon placed in water in a glass tablet appears to be bigger than its actual size. When observed from the sides, how can you account for such experiences? Let us think the case of the apparent displacement of a pencil, partly immersed in water. The light reaching you from the portion of the pencil inside water appear to come from a different direction compared to the part above water, which makes the pencil seems to be displaced at the interface. For similar regions, the letters seem to be raised when observed through a glass slab placed over it. Placed over it. Does a pencil seem to be displaced to the same extent if instead of water we use liquids like turpentine or kerosene? Will the letters appear to rise to the same height if we replace a glass slab with a transparent plastic slab? You will note that the extent of the effect is a plastic slab. You will note that the extent of the effect is different for different pair of media. These observations show that light does not travel in the same direction in all media. It seems that when traveling obliquely from one medium to another, the direction of propagation of light in the second medium changes. This phenomenon is called as a refraction of light. Let us study this phenomenon further by doing a few activities. The coin again becomes visible on pouring water into the oil. The coin seems slightly raised above its actual position due to refraction of light. Refraction through a rectangular glass slab. To understand the phenomenon of refraction of light by a glass slab, let us perform an activity. In this activity, you will observe the light ray has changed its direction at points O and O. Note that both the points O and O lie on surfaces separating two transparent media. Draw a perpendicular MN to AB at O and another perpendicular MM to CD or O. The light ray at point PO has entered from air to glass I. From a rarer medium to a denser medium, observe that the light ray has bent towards the normal at O. The light ray has entered from a denser medium to a rarer medium I. From glass to air, the light air has bent away from the normal. Compare the angle of incidence. What the angle of refraction at both refracting surfaces CD and AB in given. Now you are familiar with the refraction of light. Refraction is because of a change in the speed of light as it enters from one transparent medium to another. Experiments indicate that a refraction of light happens according to certain laws. The following are the laws of refraction of light: the incident ray, the refracted ray, and the normal to the surface of separation of two transparent media at the point of incision all lie in the same plane. The ratio of sine of angle of incision to the sine of angle of refraction is a constant for the light of a given color and for the given pair of media. This law is also known as Snell's law for refraction. This constant value is known as the refractive index of the second medium with respect to the first. Let us learn about a refractive index in some detail. The refractive index, you have already learn that array of light that travels obliquely from one transparent medium into another will vary its direction in the second medium. The extent of the change in a direction that occurs in a given pair of media may be expressed in terms of the refractive index, the constant appearing on the right hand side of equation 4. The refractive index can be associated to an important physical quantity, the relative speed of propagation of light in various media. It turns out that light propagates with the different speeds in different media. Light travels the fastest in vacuum with the highest speed of 3 multiple 10 के power 8 meter second के power -1. In air, the speed of light is only marginally less in comparison to that in vacuum. It reduces considerably in water. Considerably in water or glass. The value of the refractive index for a given pair of media depends upon the speed of light in the two media. Suppose a ray of light traveling from media one into medium 2 as shown in figure. Let V1 be the speed of light in medium 1 and V2 be the speed of light in medium. The refractive index of medium 2 with respect to medium 1 is represented by the ratio of the speed of light in medium 1 and the speed of light in medium 2. This is generally represented by the symbol N21. This can be expressed in an equation from as by the same argument, the refractive index of medium 1 with respect to medium 2 is represented as N12. It is expressed by, if medium 1 is air or vacuum, then the refractive index of medium 2 is considered. With respect to vacuum, this is known as the absolute refractive index of the medium. It is simply represented by N2 if C is the speed of light in air and V is the speed of light in the medium. Then the refractive index of the medium Nm is given by. The absolute refractive index of a medium is simply known as its refractive index. The refractive index of several media is shown in table 3. From the table, you can know that the refractive index of water N is equal to 1.33. This indicates that the ratio of the speed of light in air and the speed of light in water is equal to 1.33. Similarly, the refractive index of a crow glass. Such data are helpful in several places. However, you need not to memorize the data. Not from the table 3 that an optically denser medium may not have a greater mass density. For example, kerosene processing higher refractive index is optically denser as compared to the water, although its mass density is less than water. Refraction by spherical lenses. You might have observed watch markers using a small magnifying glass to see tiny parts. Have you ever touched with your hand the surface of a magnifying glass? Is it curved or plain surface? Is it thicker at the edges or in the middle? The glass used in spectacles and that by a watchmaker are the examples of lenses. What is a lenses? How does it bend light rays? We shall study this in this section. A transparent material bound by two surfaces on which one or both surfaces are spherical makes a lenses. This shows that a lenses is bound by at least one spherical surface. In such lenses, the other surfaces bulging outwards. Such a lens is known as a double convex lens. It is simplified known as a convex lens. It is thicker at the middle in comparison to the edge. Convection lenses coverages light rays as given in figure. Hence, convex lenses are also known as covering lenses. Similarly, a double concave lens is bounded by two spherical surfaces covered inwards. It is thicker at the edge as compared to at the middle. Such lenses diverge light rays as given in figure. Such lenses are also known as diverging lenses. A double concave lenses is simplified known as a concave lenses. A lens either a concave lens or a convex lens has two spherical surfaces. Each of these surfaces makes a part of a sphere. The centers of these spheres are known as centers of curvature of the lenses. The center of curvature of a lens is usually represented by the letter C. Since there are two centers of curvature, we may represent them as C1 and C2, an imaginary straight line passing across the two centers of curvature of a lens is known as its principal axis. The central point of a lens is its optical center. It is generally represented by the letter O. A ray of light through the optical center of a lens passes without suffering any deviation. The effective diameter of the circular outline of a spherical lens is known as its aperture. We shall confine our discussion in this chapter to such lenses which aperture is much lesser than its radius of curvature, and the two centers of curvatures are equidistant from the optical center. Or such lenses are known as thin lenses with small apertures. Water takes place when parallel rays of lens of light are incident on a lens. Let us perform an activity to understand this. The paper starts to burn, producing a smoke. It may even catch fire after a while. Why does this occur? The light from the sun constitutes parallel rays of light. These rays were converged by the lens at the bright sharp spot formed on the paper. In fact, the bright spot you obtain on the paper is a real image of the sun. The concentration of the sunlight at a point produced heat. This caused the paper to burn. Now we shall consider rays of light parallel to the principal axis of a lens. What occurs when you pass such rays of light through a lens? This is represented for a convex lens. For a concave lenses in figure B. See figure A carefully. Many rays of light parallel to the principal axis are falling on a convex lens. These rays, after refraction from the lenses, are covering to a point on the principal axis. This point on the principal axis is known as the principal focus of the lens. Let us observe now the action of a concave lens. See figure B carefully. Many rays of light parallel to the principal axis are falling on a concave lens. These rays after refraction from the lenses are seems to diverge from a point on the principal axis. This point on the principal axis is known as the principal focus of the concave lenses. If you pass parallel rays from the opposite surface of the lenses, you obtain another principal focus on the opposite side. Letter F is generally used to represent a principal focus. However, a lens has two principal foci. They are represented by F1 and F2. The distance of the principal focus from the optical centers of a lens is known as its focal length. The letter F is used to represent the focal length. How can you determine the focal length of a convex lens? Recall the activity 11. In this activity, the distance between the position of the lens and the position of the image of the sun gives the approximate focal length of the lens. Image formation by lenses. Lenses make images by reflecting light. How do lenses make images What is their nature? Let us learn these four convex lens first. The nature, relative size and position of the image termed by convex lens of four different positions of the object is summarized in table 4. Let us now do an activity to study the position, nature and relative size of the image formed by concave lens. The summary of the above activity in show and in table 5. What calculation can you draw from this activity? A concave lens will always give a virtual dimensioned and erect image irrespective of the position of the object. Image formation analysis using ray diagrams. We can represent image formation by lenses with the help of ray diagrams. Ray diagrams will also help us to study the nature, relative size and position of the image obtained by lenses for drawing ray diagrams in lenses. Unlike of spherical mirrors, we consider any two of the flowing rays. A ray of light from the object parallel to the principal axis after refraction from a convex lens travel across the principal focus on the other side of the lens as shown in figure. In case of a concave lens, the ray seems to diverge from the principal focus located on the same side of the lens as given in figure. A ray of light traveling through a principal focus after refraction from a convex lens will emerge parallel to the principal axis. This is represented in figure. A ray of light seems to meet at the principal focus of a concave lens. After refraction will emerge parallel to the principal axis. This is represented in figure D. A ray of light traveling through the optical center of a lens will emerge without any deviation. This is represented in figure E and figure F. The ray diagrams for the image formation in a convex lens for a few positions of the object are given in figure. The ray diagrams showing the image formation in a concave lens for various positions of the object are shown in figure given on next page. Sign convection for spherical lenses. For lenses, we follow sign convection same as that the one used for spherical mirrors. We apply the rules for sign of distances except that all measurements are taken from the optical center of the lenses according to the convention. The focal length of a concave lens is negative and that of a convex lens is positive. You must take care to apply appropriate signs for the values of u, b, f, image height h and object height h. Lens formula and magnification. As we have a formula for spherical mirrors, we also have a formula for spherical lenses. This formula expresses the relationship between object distance u, the focal length f, and image distance b. The lens formula is expressed as the lens formula given above is general and is valid for any spherical lens in all situations. Take proper care of the signs of various quantities while substituting numerical values for solving problems relating to lenses. Magnification. The magnification produced by a lens, same as that for spherical mirrors, is defined as the ratio of the height of the object and the ratio of the image. Magnification is expressed by the letter M if h is the height of the object and h is the height of the image. So by a lens. Then the magnification produced by the lenses is expressed by. Magnification produced by lenses is also associated with the object distance u and the image distance v. This relationship is expressed by power of a lenses. You have already studied that the ability of a lens to diverge or converge light rays depends on its focal length. For example, a convex lens of a short focal length bends the light rays by large angles by focusing them closer to the optical center. In the same way, concave lens of very short focal length causes higher divergences. then the one having longer focal length, the degree of convergence of difference of light rays achieved by a lens is given in terms of its power. The power of a lens is defined as the reciprocal of its focal length. It is expressed by that letter P. The power P of a lens of focal length f is given by the SI unit of power of a lens is a diopter. It is represented by the letter D. If f is expressed in meters, then power is expressed in diopters. Thus, one diopter is the power of a lens, which focal length is 1 meter. 1 day is equal to 1 meter के power -1. You may observe that the power of a concave lens is negative and that of a convex lenses is positive. Opticians prescribe corrective lenses representing their powers. Let us say the lens prescribed possesses power equal to plus 2.0 D. This means the lens prescribed is convex. The focal length of the lens is plus 0.50 meter. In the same way, a lens of power minus 2.5 D has a focal length. The lens is concave.